let's go. 082 when I looked at you like this shit gravy. Ball so hard, this shit weird. We ain't even supposed to be here. Ball so hard since we here.
Hello, and welcome to Talk Business 360, where we feature insights.
get it going. Awesome. Thank you guys for being here today. Yeah, guys, if you want to grab a snack, it's going to be a good 30, 45 minutes. We try to get out of here as quickly as possible. And then we also have some guys on YouTube. Thank you guys on YouTube as well for getting on. Let's see. You guys can see that, right? Mm-hmm. Yes. Perfect. And let's see if we can control it, and we should get going here. Perfect. I'm gonna be talking a lot. I'm gonna get some water, cause. How are you doing, Miss Karen? You're good, man. I know you called me the other day. I was like, we were just talking, and you're like, I'm back at the hospital. I'm like, no, man. Yeah, something was. Yeah.
It was actually building up.
Yeah.
My immune system was low.
Oh, okay.
From having the pneumonia.
Got it.
And so I just went on and got me some good old virus.
All right, perfect. Well, thank you guys for being here today. Again, we're trying to do these once a month, right? The idea is to have, obviously, more people get back now with COVID not being as bad. We want to be able to have people in the office more. I know the technology helps a lot, but we want to make sure that they get all the information, right? So again, we would like to do these at the end of the month. This one we called it Learn and Earn, right? The ABCs of investing. We're going to talk about our opportunity as well, but we really want to talk about how we can help families grow their wealth, right? That's one of the biggest things, information-wise, that there's plenty of it, but people are not showing us exactly how to do it. And so that's why we do these things here. So let's jump right into it. We always talk about money, right? I always say, how often do we think about money, right? And we say pretty much all the time, right? Kids asking for money, right? We have to pay bills. We have to do all these things. So we're constantly thinking about it. And when we do it, is it a good thing or a bad thing? I don't know. Something depends the time of the month, I think, right? But we are always thinking about how to make more, how to save more. And most people out there don't have a plan that can help them with the money issues that they have, right? And that's where we come in. We're going to talk about some solutions. We're going to talk about, how we can help families, some basic concepts, and that people can use and get ahead financially, okay? And so this is what people are asking themselves out there, right? How can I save, right, for the future if I have so much debt? Right? How much money is enough, and what if I'm too late to save money? Right? These are a couple of questions people tell themselves, right? If I die prematurely, what would happen? What would happen to my family? What would happen to everything, right? And can I truly become financially secure? And the answer is yes, we have the answer, right? Our company does, and we're going to talk more about this and why we're helping families do that. And this is why when we start thinking about these things and answering these questions, these are some of the things that we want to be able to explain. Most people are doing bad financially because they don't have any financial education, right? But we've had whatever career we're in, that's the education we have, but not financial education. Have plenty of high-end clients, whatever you want to think of, which is the doctors, the lawyers, and all that stuff. And they know that part of their career, right? But when we talk about money, they're like, I don't know, I have somebody else do it, okay? And so they don't have a financial game plan. We're going to talk about that. And then also they don't have someone, right? We talked about the information being out there, but guess what? No one's grabbing them by the hand and showing them how to do that, okay? And so when we talk about these things, we provide a financial solution for all these questions that people ask themselves, right? And so the problem, right, we see now is that everybody's out there spending all this money on all sorts of things, right? We were just doing, actually, we always do our analysis all the time, and my wife, we were just talking about all the subscriptions that we have, right? That we set them up one time, the Netflix, whatever, right? And all of a sudden, next thing you know, they're all on auto, and then you have tons of things. And this is what it looks like when we make the money, and it's just going everywhere, okay? And so the solution is obviously a plan. We call it the financial needs analysis. it's basically our GPS where we can say, hey, this is how we're going to attack this. This is how we're going to help in these areas. Because without a plan, really, we're like this, right? All of our money's just going everywhere. And that's really when we talk about a plan, we always look at it kind of like building a house, right? Because I tell my clients all the time, hey, we gotta understand how we're gonna do all these crazy concepts and all these things. We gotta do it in some steps, right? And so our financial house is the easiest way. I've been here. I think I've been doing this more than 20 years now. And this is, I find, is the easiest way for people to comprehend finances, right? Again, there's tons of things out there, right? There's apps, there's all the, but I think this is one of the easiest way. And we want to start with our foundation, which is insurance or life insurance, right? Because that protects our income, right? And our income is our number one, I think Dave Ramsey is his number one wealth builder, right? It's our income. And so we got to protect that with life insurance, right? Then we're going to create a budget or have some wills, emergency fund. Then we're going to talk about paying off some debt, retirement, right? College savings if we have little ones, and other goals. Now, what we see out there is that everyone's doing these reverse, right? They try to buy the stuff. They try to go to the places or invest in different things without putting these in order, right? And so I tell everyone, if they get anything out of what we talk about, as long as they get this, they would do, if they implement it, they would do really well financially, okay? And so when we're looking at this, we got to start with let's start with our foundation, right? And again, we can send this out to you as well if you want copies of this, right? When we talk about our foundation, there's really 4 things that we use it basically to cover our foundation or to cover our income. One is insurance through our jobs, right? Or if we have a business, through our business, whatever the case is through a group, right? Sometimes there's some churches that have some type of coverage, right? We got to understand that that's pretty limited and it's not portable. If you ever leave that group, job, or whatever, it typically doesn't go with you. And if it does, it turns into something really expensive, right? Then there's also the no coverage, right? Some people don't have anything, right? And I think those are the people that really, really are going to be devastated financially, or their family, if something happens to them. Right? Then we have on the other side a couple of other ones, people that have some insurance already. They might have something that what we call some cash value or some savings, right? They say, hey, my policy has savings. My policy, I can loan from my policy. They say different things like that. If that's the case, they have what we call cash value, which is basically insurance with a little bit of savings tied to it, right? We'll go over those shortly as well. And then the last one is term insurance. They might say, Henry, I already have term insurance, right? But then we're going to see, hey, what kind? Because there's different types of term insurance as well. We're going to look at those. But typically when we sit down with it and talk about our financial house, these are the 4 ways that people cover, their income, right? Or their foundation, right? Again, ideally is make sure that we have something to begin with, right? And so when we get there, we talk to a client, we present some of these things. That's one of the first things we're going to look at, right? And so the solution that we always provide is called buy term and invest the difference, right? Even though they had even if they're in one of those 4 areas, we call it buy term and invest the difference because we want to bring more value for their money, okay? That means that we're going to have to get them covered for whatever their needs are, right? Not just what they can afford, but what their needs are, right? And then what we're going to do is the difference typically is going to be a lot less expensive with us. We're going to invest that and save it, okay? So let's jump right into this example. If you see here before us, they had what we call the whole life cash value, what we talked about, which is just a little bit of what? Coverage and savings, right? Typically, those are 2 or 3 times more expensive. So they had $150,000 of coverage, They were spending $295, and they were going to have, by the time they turned 65, which is, in this scenario, this couple is about 30 years old, okay? They were going to have $124,000 of savings, okay? They never would have made it to the 150 that they're covered, right? So, but they're spending $295. So that's really important number when we're talking to people about how they cover themselves. So $295, that's our budget, we would say, for our foundation, right? To cover our income. So what we did is we gave them a new quote, right? Term insurance for a 35-year plan. So that means that policy is going to stay that same coverage and that same price for 35 years, right? And so the price, because it's term insurance, is going to be a lot less. It's going to be $126. So we're now saving $169 a month. Right? Now this is where the invest the difference comes into play, right? We're going to show people how to invest, growth mutual funds, 401ks, different types of plans that can give us a better interest rate. And so you see here, we're going to have now $500,000 by the time we retire. A lot more than we were going to have with the other plan. And they were covered the whole time for 4 times the coverage, right? So we always ask, okay, is that a better use of their hard-earned money, the $295 a month, than what they were having before? Absolutely, right? And that is basically our job. We want to make sure that that value, that $295 they're spending, goes a long way, right? And so a couple of things I want to talk about, because if something happens with this plan over here, while they're covered, they're going to pay whatever the death benefit was, which is $150, and they're not going to, 99% of the time, they're not going to pay the savings to the family. The company keeps the savings. Okay? That's one thing to remember. The second is it's a loan that they take out from the money. So if they wanted to use the 124, they can take it out as a loan. Okay? Now we know about loans, right? We got to pay them back. Right? And if we don't, they're going to keep our money from somewhere, right? So if we didn't pay that loan back, whatever it was, if it was $1 or the whole $124,000, then they will deduct it from our death benefits if we pass away, right? And so those are a couple little things with these cash value policies that a lot of people don't know. And our job is to educate them, right? And so with us, if they ever pass away at any point in time and they had both, then the family gets both. The investments and the what? Death benefits, right? And that's the real important about separating them, because now they don't depend on each other, right? We can put a lot more towards savings or even cover ourselves a lot more. But if we want to stop one, the other one doesn't stop. And that's where our solutions really, where Primerica and our company is a lot different than most companies. We want to provide that solution, right? The second thing we want to talk about is our debt. We just talked about how important it is people are thinking about how can I invest or save if I have a lot of debt. So we provide 2 game plans, basically, to get out of debt. I know we can do it with one, but we're going to provide 2, right? The first one is debt stacking, very popular out there in social media and all. You can hear those all the time, right? Which is basically using the money we're already spending, nothing extra. And now we're going to, once we pay off our first debt, which should be our smallest, we're going to use that money and pay it towards the next one. Okay? So you see there, this couple has a couple of retail credit cards, a car, a mortgage, right? And now we're going to typically include the student loans now, because that law is coming into effect that they got to pay it back, right? They can't keep on deferring it, right? They got to pay it back. And so we got to put that in there, right? But let's say this is what their monthly is, $2,700 a month for all these things. But once we pay off that retail card, we're going to use that money, that $220, and we're going to send it to the next one. So instead of retail card 2, instead of sending $353, we're going to send $573, right? Because we add the $220 to it. And we all know that if we send any extra to any debt, we're going to pay it off faster, right? But look at the difference this makes. Even our mortgage, right? instead of paying our mortgage off, most loans are 30-year, 20-year, 25-year loans, right? We're going to pay it off 14 years sooner, right? Instead of year 23 paying off mortgage, we pay it off in 9, right? Saving them over $100,000 of interest because we're paying it off sooner, okay? But more important, we can use some of that money to invest once we're out of debt. And, again, we provide the game plan and we provide the what? We're holding them by the hand to go through this. Because, again, it's hard, right? If they're already in debt, it's going to be hard for them to get out. So we want to be able to help them all the way through that, okay? The other option that we have, we just recently partnered up with Rocket Mortgage, is consolidating their debts into one payment, right? So if they have a home and it has some equity, we can say, hey, let's put the car in here. Let's put these retail cars. So you see there, the first mortgage is $156,000. Just again, an example, they might have $100,000 of what? Equity. And now they have $50,000 of debt, right? Including those what? Credit cards, cars, that kind of stuff. And they're spending $2,500 a month. Now we can consolidate into one payment for $210,000. Now their new payment is $1,000 a month, right? Saving them about $1,500 a month, right? Again, some debts might be bigger, some equity might be bigger as well, right? And so we're going to now use that $1,500 to pay off the debt faster and save, okay? So now we use $758, which is half of it, and we're going to start paying down that debt. We're still going to pay it in 9 years. Right? In 12 years, right? And I put 9% there because we know the interest rates nowadays, right? They're not that low as they were before. And the other $750, we're going to invest it. Look at that. In 12 years, paid off debt and $196,000 in cash, right? Really important. Because guess what? We're not just paying off debt. We want to make sure that they have some assets, right? And so if we continue, again, paying the $2,500 a month, we can be able to what? Save for our future, save for retirement. Again, plans that we can hold them by the hand and we can say, hey, this is how we're going to do that, right? And now we say, again, back to the interest, 9%. Think about if they had 3 credit cards and a car, they're probably paying 50%, right? If you add all those interest rates off, because everyone's like, Henry, but that's a high interest rate for a mortgage. But think about how much the interest was with the credit card, with everything, right? So that's really low compared to that, right? So we want to make sure they understand how much they're going to be paying in total. It's not just about the interest, right? When we talk about mortgages and interest rates, it's not just about the interest. It's how much you're going to pay in what? Money, right? In total. And so we see these people out there struggling, right? You see there, most people are not willing to help the people that are struggling, right? We want to find the people that have the money to invest or that have enough money to buy products or services. No one really wants to get in there with the clients that need it the most, right? And that's where that's really who we help, the people that need the most, right? Even if we look into this, most professionals don't want to help anyone that has less than $50,000, right? I always tell everyone, before I changed zip codes, I have never had none of these investment companies ever knock on our door, right? But now I've had a couple throughout the years knock on the door. We're with Edward Jones, or we're with whoever, right? And I was like, hey, I needed you, a long time ago. Where were you then, right? And so you can see the stats are even worse, right? 75% of Americans admit they should have started some savings. More than half of Americans have less than $1,000 in savings, right? And so you see the opportunity for our business to grow is there as well, okay? So we're going to talk about how we're going to help them invest, right? So when we're talking about investments, remember buy term and invest the difference, right? We're getting out of debt and also investing the savings. As you can see, we want to have 3 accounts. I always tell everyone, we have 3 accounts going at all times, right? Emergencies, because we know we're always going to have an emergency, right? Short-term savings, because we're always going to buy something, right? So we got to save for that separately. And then our long-term savings when we get to retirement and we get to do for us to do the things that we want to do in retirement. What ends up happening is as we're doing one or the other, the other one happens, right? So if we're just putting all our money in our 401k in retirement, guess emergency happens, guess where you go? To that other account, right? And at the end of the day, you end up not saving for all of either one. And so again, we want to make sure we're helping clients in all those aspects. So how we're going to do that? We're going to show them how to invest in the global economy. This is a real simple concept that, again, I learned long time ago when I started. And we know that most traditional financial institutions like banks is the wrong place to go to invest. Okay? Now, some may have a what? Separate department that might be like a broker or an investment firm. But actually to invest, it's not typically the best place to go. Right? So we want to bypass them and we want to go invest in the global economy. Now, we obviously want to not be as risky, and we'll talk about that when we come to invest, right? But again, the idea is to have more value for our money. So we're going to bypass the institutions, go and invest ourselves. Now it makes it even more easier. You got all these apps out there, the Robinhoods, all this stuff, right, to help you do that. But again, no one's teaching us how to. The thing is there, but how do we do it? What do I pay, Henry? How do I get this money? How do I get this interest rate, right? And that's how we're going to talk about the concept of the Rule 72, because it's going to help us understand why to invest in places and how to, right? And so we take the interest that we're making on our money, divide it into 72, and that's how long it takes our money to double, right? So it goes towards the investing, and it also goes towards if we're paying any debt. Right? Think about it. If they're charging us 30% and we divide it into 72, that means their money, the debt people that we're paying, is doubling every 2 to 3 years. Right? While our money in the savings account is doubling every 72 years. Right? And so look, 6% every 12 years, 12% every 6 years. So the goal is to make more interest for our money to grow. And if we're paying debt, pay less interest, right? And so we want to make sure that we have a portfolio that's going to help us do that, right? And so that's what we're going to do. We're going to put a portfolio together and we're going to say, hey, this is a track record of what these accounts have been doing. More than likely, that's what they're going to do. All right, so if they make 3%, let's take, if we're saving $200 a month, right, for 35 years, we're going to have $148,000. At 6%, we're going to have $286,000. And at 12%, who wants to guess how much we're going to have? $500,000. That's what I thought, right? Double the interest, double the what? Amount, right? But we can have $1.3 million. Right? Because it's doubling more periods. Right? Because of the Rule 72. Look at this. Smart guy here, Albert Einstein, said, compound interest is the most powerful force in the universe. So it can be used for us or it can be used what? Against us. Right? So when we get that high interest rate or we get those credit cards with 30%, 20%, they're using that what? Against us. So we want to be able to use it for us, right? So we want to start investing and saving that money. Right? And so when we boil it down, our job is, right, making sure we educate our clients with time-tested principles, not just, hey, we made this up or ChatGPT said, right? Not that. I mean, these principles have been around for decades and have worked for the wealthy, right? Also, we want to provide a plan, something that they can use and say, hey, I'm going to, if I want to save or want to get out of debt, I need something I can follow. That's our financial needs analysis, right? And then we're going to provide the products and services, right? We're going to see here, we're going to partner with so many different people and companies to get them the right products and services, right? And so we have this book for everyone that we sit down with. It's called How Money Works. All these topics we talked about are more detailed in there. We can send them the QR code. They can get their QR code on there. You can take a picture and you can go on there and download your copy of it, right? Look at this. We've distributed over 30 million of these throughout the time that that our company has had this available, which is really nice, right? And it's free. And we understand if the people read it, they'll start getting what? More familiar with it, right? And so, again, we can send them the link, right? Which is therealhowmoneyworks.com. Either way, we want to get it out to as many people as we can so they can start getting their plan together, right? You see how real all these problems, right? The stats don't lie. No company out there is really helping a family with all of this. There might be one that gives them specific ones. There might be another one that gives them the loan. Might be another one that gives them the insurance. But as far as combining everything and providing solutions, there's really no one with our efforts, right? And so we want to talk. This brings our topic to the opportunity to also grow with our company, helping clients do this, right? So we look at what's going on out there with the COVID. Many people started working remote, right? And then what ended up happening is the production went down, right? Like Elon Musk said, I'm going back to work, right? So guess what? Most companies are saying you need to come back to work. So now they got the taste of the real life freedom, right? Now most people are looking for new opportunities, right? And so that's where we say, hey, we can help you do that. You can work for yourself. You can work remote. You can work at your own pace. And so we want to make sure that we give them the opportunity as well to be able to help others and at the same time help themselves. We're seeing that people want to work with a purpose now, right? It's not just about the 9 to 5. It's not just about or just chasing the money, but they want to work with a purpose, okay? They want to make a difference. We see a lot of people that, hey, I want to come in here, Henry, and I want to make a difference. Not just with their life, right, but for others. And they want the option to do big things if they want to, right? And so our company, by helping others with all these financial products and services, we'll be able to help others too with the business opportunity, right? And so when we talk about money, again, we talked about money as far as being a client, but when we're talking about making money, there's really only 4 ways that we can make money, okay? And then whatever you think, it's probably going to be categorized under one of these. One is being an employee, right? You work for a position, okay? Sometimes you may like the job, sometimes you may not, but you work for that position, right? If you want to make a little bit more money, you may want to apply for another position, right? So really the income or the money you make is based on the position, not most of the time, not on our skills. We might have better skills, but underworked or overworked and underpaid, all these things, right? Then, so a lot of us tend to want to be self-employed. They were like, hey, I like baking. I like doing this. Maybe I should do it for myself, right? And this is where we see a lot of people kind of try to expand, have a side gig or side hustle, whatever they want to call it, right? Or they want to have their own practice or something, right? And they go do something for themselves. They can charge more, make more money, right? The hairstylists, the barbers, all these things, right? The problem is that they're the ones working still. Okay? They're still doing the whatever, right? The lawnmower person that does the weekends, makes money, he's doing it, right? And so even though they can make more money, they're their own boss, right? And so they kind of confuse it with having a business, right? Having a business is a little different, right? You work with others or you have others working with you to grow a business. So whatever that business is, it can be a doctor growing a practice, right? He's no longer doing the surgery or whatever, but he has maybe some nurses, right? But he owns the practice. Same thing with the lawyer, with the firm. All these concepts, the best part or best way to understand is that they're not doing it themselves, right? the franchise industry several decades ago was really popular. You buy a franchise, or even now, I think Chick-fil-A is one of the most popular franchises you can buy, right? But it takes money sometimes, right? So most people don't have that. Eventually, we want to do is we want to become investor, right? So you see all the Magic Johnsons out there, that kind of stuff, right? They invest in businesses. They don't really do it, right? They buy 2 or 3 Wingstops or whatever, but they have the money to do it, right? Because now it's making money and they don't have to work, right? Also, your investments, right? You can have enough money so they can what? Work for you, and you don't have to work. The problem is taking us too long to get to those parts, right? I say on average 50 years, right? I think the way it's going is probably going to be more because people are not saving. We just saw the stats there, right? So I started when I was 15 working at a job. So we think about 20, 30, 40, 50, 60. Most people retire in their 60s. So that's 50 years. If we save, right? If we don't save, we have to what? Continue to work. So this is where if we understand this, we can say, hey, I can be an employee for a little bit, but work my way to get to investor as quickly as possible, right? And that's how the opportunity, we can do that here, right? We go back to what's going on out there, 78%. Full-time workers live paycheck to paycheck. At least 80% of adults live with anxiety about raising costs for their health care, money, emergencies, income, savings, right? So the solution for most of this stuff is making more what? Money, right? Getting out of debt faster. If we can make a little bit more money, if we can retire, make a little bit of money to save more, right? And so we see people out there, and again, you probably hear this all the time. They don't really like their job, or they're, man, I can't catch up, right? I need something better. Right? And those are the type of people that we are looking for. So what better candidate if we're helping someone with their finances and learning that they need more what? Income. Right? They need more income. So when we're talking about how much money we would make here, obviously we got to get licensed. We'll talk about that as well. I want to show you part-time income, right? If we can help someone, right? With the life insurance, you saw they were spending $300, we were able to get more coverage, better for the client, right? As a new person, you probably make about $700 for that policy, right? As a regional vice president, we'll talk about that as owner, operator in office, about $1,500, right? A full-time regional leader in our office, you make in between, right? $997. And all our services have a what? Commission or a pay structure that we can make. So we don't make money on just one thing. We can have multiple things, right? The refinance, right? $210,000. You make about $1,500 to do that refinance, right? New purchases or whatever it is, right? So you see, helping a couple of families a month can make great part-time income. Do all the families do everything all the time? No, right? Do some of them do a couple of things? Yes, right? But the idea is that if we get licensed in these areas, we can help families and we can help ourselves make more money, right? So if that was a pay structure, right, how many families do we want to help? All of them, right? All the people that need us, right? But so how can I get started? So one of the things we want to do is talk about getting licensed. So all the clients that we talk to, we always say, hey, you can get licensed with us and refer us some clients. And if you refer us clients, if you're licensed, that client does something with us, you'll get paid, right? Because you're licensed in that area, right? Let me do everything, right? You just got to say, Henry, you got to talk to that person. I was talking to him. I know you're really good at that. You're like, we got to talk to this person, right? Right, but we can get it depending on what your license is, right? You can get life insurance license, investment, mortgage, whatever the case is, right? And so we can get licensed. Most of our licenses without the mortgage, right? It's about a $1,200 or $1,500 price tag, right, to get licensed. company can sponsor us, we can start that with for our licensing. If you're already licensed, right? I think Mr. Menard was already licensed. It's just $25, right? But still $99 to get all that, I think is a really good value, right? And then we can be clients at the same time as well. You can be your own client, okay? But we want to make sure that we can help them with their finances, but also give them the opportunity to make some more money. That's one way that we can get licensed, right? Another way is get licensed and personally help families, right? A couple of policies, a couple of trades, investment accounts, right? We can make a good $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 part time, right? Obviously, there's going to be some training involved, and there's going to be some licenses that we got to get, but it'll be worth it, right? When we're helping families, and we can start possibly growing our income when we retire. So, like Social Security on average is going to give us between $20,000 and $30,000 a year in Social Security. I think the max right now, I think is like 40,000 maybe, 4,500 a month, which basically, right? We can make our own Social Security if we help clients invest about $10 million, right? It can be one client that just won the lottery for $10 million, right? It can be 10 million clients, $1 a piece, it doesn't matter, right? We can create our own Social Security, right, with that license. Again, that's not counting all the other income you can make with all the other licenses. But I just always tell clients, look, there's options that we can use our license and we can use our business to help us, okay? We can also say, Henry, I want to grow my book of business and I want to have tons of clients and go full time and make a, 6-figure income, right? Same thing, right? You got to help tons of clients. But look, if we can help in our office, if we have $25 million of clients' investments, you can make $100,000 a year. Right? And then you can do that in a year, you can do that in 5 years, you can do it in 4 years, you can do that in 10 years. Is how long you want to take, right? But kind of giving you some numbers, some real numbers out there. Again, not including the investments, not including the mortgages, not including the life insurance. The money is there. We deal with money, right? So we make money when we help clients, right? We can help that, or we can also have an office with a couple of teammates in there as well, that you help them get licensed. It's up to you how we want to do that, right? I saw the big part of it and say, hey, I want to open multiple offices. This is kind of like the franchise part of it, right? We can say, hey, I want to open an office. I'm going to teach a couple of others to open more offices, and they can do their own thing and then help others as well in another city, in another state, wherever, right? And so that's the bigger part of the business. So we can, hey, anyone can fit in here. They don't have to be entrepreneurs. They can just be referral source, right? Or they can be the biggest entrepreneur and grow their business as big as they want. It's up to them. More offices are open. You make a % out of each office that's open. And that's the business, right? Because remember, a business is working and you are not working, right? We can open multiple offices, okay? So we always, when we're training and hiring others, we always like to compare it to real estate. That is really popular right now. I'll say the last 5 years after COVID, everybody, I don't know, for some reason wants to get a real estate license, right? Even though the interest rates are so high and that business is down. But everybody wants to get a real estate license, right? But we always compare our business to that. So in a real estate business, there's a broker, owner of an office, and there's a bunch of agents. The broker can have multiple agents. They can have one agent. And that agent does what? They get licensed and sell a home, right? They can pay the broker in 2 ways. You can pay the broker with a % of the amount of homes that they sell, or they can pay them rent, or they can pay them some fee. But the broker always gets paid, right? So what ends up happening is that agent gets really good, they want to be the broker, right? If you're a really good salesperson, you're like, hey, how can I be the broker, right? So what ends up happening is that agent leaves and becomes a broker. And now that broker is competition to you. So you basically train your competition, right? And that goes for every business, right? If I have a washateria, if I have a McDonald's, if I have anything, I'm not going to teach anyone all the tricks of the trade, because guess what they're going to do? They're going to go open one up and be my competition. Right? And this is where, our company says, hey, let's erase that, right? We have the same thing. We have, district leader, regional leaders, we'll talk about those. And then regional vice presidents, the owner of the office, right? But we want to have more regional vice presidents. So we say, what can I teach you? How can I teach you? How can I help you with? Can I get you help, pass your test, whatever, because we want more what? Regional vice presidents. Because with us, guys, it doesn't matter if you're a vice president or in my office. We always get paid for every position we help people promote to. Right? And so I personally want more regional vice presidents, right? Because they're doing their thing. They know what to do, and I don't have to be what? On them, right? As much, right? And so is how many do we want? All right, so how many regional vice presidents we want, right? So on average, for every regional vice president that you have, right, they make your business between $50,000 and $100,000 a year, right? So again, the more regional vice presidents have, the more income we have, right? My mentor has 26, and he makes $1 million a year. Right, 1.2 or something like that. Okay, 26. Did he help all? No. Like for example, he's my mentor, but the RVP that helped me passed away, and I went directly to him. Right, so I have 5 RVPs. Right, he didn't help me train none of those guys. He helped train me, right? But now I can train all, right? And so that's the big part of the business. And that's where the company says, hey, we want more what? Regional vice presidents. And what can we do? Well, we can sponsor that person to go get licensed. We can train them. We can have an office for them. We can do anything that they need so we can eventually have more regional vice presidents, right? More licensed people, more opportunities to have more regional vice presidents. This is one of ours right there in Cypress. We have a young guy there. Mr. Gerardo here, got Olympia, got Sarah Milton. Whether they're young, old, doesn't matter, right? The opportunity is there for anyone, okay? Anyone can take that and run with it, right? So if we're going to have more regional vice presidents, right, the idea is to have more licensed people. Because without licensed people, they can't really be a regional vice president, right? So we want to create that team aspect, right? So the company, their goal is for us to expand. So they give us all sorts of incentives for us to grow that. Licensing, they give us trips, they give us all sorts of things because they want the company to grow more licenses to have more offices. That's their goal, right? A couple of trips we've been throughout the years, I think, since I've been here, I've been like in 15 or 20 trips, something like that, right? They go everywhere. But also the important part is they give us equity, what we call shares, right? You guys know that most of the billionaires, they became billionaires by shares of their own company, right? The Bezos, the Elon, right? I don't know if y'all follow the industry, but they're looking at his pay right now. Yeah. So he hasn't taken a pay like several years. So now the board of Tesla is looking at how much they're going to pay him for all that, right? And what it looks like, it's going to be most of it is going to be in shares, right? And so that is going to be crazy. It's going to be news when it comes out, right? But the idea is that you can grow with and share in those profits with our stock, right? So again, the company is focusing on more what? Distribution, right? Because they know more licenses is more people have more access to the products and services, right? If we have a licensed person. So like all of us, we can all go help one client, right? That helps 6 clients in a day versus me trying to help 6 clients in one day, right? And then also more outlets. So more licenses we have, more outlets we can. One of those licensed people are going to say, hey, Henry, I want to what? Open an office, right? And that's the goal. And that's what every big company's goal is all. How can I get you access to my product or my services, right? And so we look at all the ones like the Starbucks, the Nikes, all that. They're all like, how can I get you in, right? What store in the mall can give you Coke or whatever, right? And so that's the same thing. Our concept as well. Right now, we have 2% market share, which is absolutely, I think is like nothing, right? I think Apple has like 90% or something like that, right? Which is crazy. So our goal is to grow the market share, okay? And so we partner up, right? Our company Primerica has partnered up with so many companies to offer these products and services, right, to them, right? And that has given us some good
Hello and
stuff.
welcome
I want
to
you
Talk
guys
Business
to listen to
360,
this.
where we feature insightful one-on-one interviews and profiles of business leaders and innovators who are making a difference and meeting the challenges of today's business world. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the program.
On today's Talk Business 360, we're joined by Primerica, one of the largest and fastest growing companies in the financial services industry, and the only company doing what's right to help Main Street families meet today's financial challenges.
Our purpose at Primerica is to create financially independent families, and we're focused on providing financial solutions to Main Street families across the United States and Canada.
The very cornerstone of what we do is buy term and invest the difference. In other words, we believe if you need to protect your family, the only way to do it is through high value, low cost term insurance.
Today we see people with less protection on their family's income on Main Street than ever before. We see families saving less than ever before. We see families more in debt.
I find like people, even first people like me, you know, they graduate, they have student loans, they have no plan. Some generations, like my parent generations, right, they're getting to that retirement age when there's absolutely nothing.
People are doing the same things that they used to do when it was 20, 30 years ago. It's a different day and time now. As the times change, people need to change.
Primerica's greatest advantage is in our distribution capabilities. We can reach Main Street North America like no other company and help turn entrepreneurial spark into business.
The reason why our business model works so not only in the United States, also in Canada, where people want to be involved in something neat that has great purpose. And deep down inside, people want to be a part of something special.
There's no other America that we do right for Main Street. There's a middle class America, and no other company is doing it.
We're an alternative. We're a company that brings new ideas, new ways of doing things to a market that's been ignored many years.
We really have not just a mission and a goal to touch as many families and people we can.
We're the only company that brings people background, all walks of life together to build distribution in the financial services arena. That gives us access to markets no other company has. That gives an opportunity to people, all backgrounds and all walks of life, to achieve something in the industry that no other company can offer.
So as you guys see, that's what we're focused on. That tons of accolades, right? As you can see, a couple of years ago, #1 most trusted life insurance company, 3rd most trusted investment or financial company. Right? So again, what we're doing is great, but we just need more people to help others, right? Ideally, that's where it comes down to, right? So we always say, hey, we can start part-time, right? That's one of the biggest keys the company has never changed, is where people can start part-time. I know now in the industry, most people want them to go full-time. They say, hey, you got to quit, you got to study, you got to do this, you got to do that. And then if you don't do this within 6 months, then we're going to let you go, right? So we kind of have the opposite approach to that. We say, hey, try it. We're going to help you get licensed. Try it and see how it goes, right? So you don't have to have a lot of capital like all the franchise, right? There's really nothing, right, outside of a background check, right? You can start again part-time at your own pace. We're going to have, again, a track record of 40 plus years that we've been helping clients. So you're going to learn that. You're going to have some great value to you, right? Which is with licenses, right? And the experience. And there is absolutely no risk. We're not asking people to leave their position somewhere or quit their job, none of that stuff, right? So most people are able to at least try. That's kind of where my position was, is, hey, I'm just going to try. And I mean, again, I ended up taking it a little bit serious and want to have a business, but if they wouldn't have gave me the opportunity, I probably wouldn't be in finances, right? I did want to have a business when they showed me this, but I was thinking too small back then, right? And so now we want to have more regional vice presidents. Again, we have 5 now, right? So idea is to help more people start part-time, get licensed, and then some of them are going to see the benefits that I saw and say, hey, I think I want to be a regional vice president. Right? And so we're going to have a little bit of time for some questions. I hope that helps kind of look at the big picture, how we help clients, how we can help people in all aspects of their finances, and at the same time, show them how to make more money. Right? At the end of the day, that's what some people need, right? So we always say, hey, a couple of things, right? One is get your own financial plan. Number 2, start moving towards the licensing process, or both, right? Number 3, or both. All right. So again, thank you guys for being here today, guys on YouTube as well. And then we're going to be around for questions. Thank you. Do this. It was the marketing part is a little different now. We have a lot of help. Number 1, social media, right? Number 2, I like talking to people. You know, I think that's my strong suit, is talking to you in person. But I have learned social media as well. We have our company now has come up the last several years, really doing good as far as our client manager, right? Has a lot of campaigns that we can send to you. Right now, everything's through email, but I think at some point we're going to have text. We have so many things now that I think is much. The idea is always, though, is that you got to understand they need the help, right? We're not going to know until we actually sit down with them. But statistically speaking, they need the help. 1 out of, I would say 4 need everything, right? And half of the people you talk to need something. So it's not as difficult as it was back then. Back then, I did the same thing, right? When I started, we had what we call mall. How did my RVP call it? It was like mall contest. Like go to the mall and see how many numbers you can get or whatever. Because we didn't have access to the internet or we weren't familiar yet with all that aspect. Now you can, I work my business always, right? So I can be on social media and I see someone says, man, I can't believe such and such, my dad passed away or whatever, right? And then I say, hey, I can obviously, based on the situation, I can say, hey, condolences, hey, that's something that we help clients do, is prepare in case something happens. If you have 30 or 45 minutes, when is a good time for us to meet, right? But that's me watching a movie with my kids, right? So that's not, we don't have to go anymore door. If we work smarter now, right? You don't have to go door to door. You can still go door to door as well, because you never know who you're going to meet, right? But I think it's a little bit more easier now if we want to put it that way. The idea is still to get an appointment though, right? And really take it more serious besides just talking on the phone or something, right? So good question on that. But we'll teach you how to do all that. You know, that's not the problem. The problem is consistently doing it. Consistency is always going to be the issue with any business, right? Because you can be great for a couple of weeks and get some things going, and then something happens, and then you go focus on something else or something. You might have an emergency or whatever, right? I always say at the beginning, kind of treat it like a job, right? I'm going to work X amount of hours for my business. So I would say 5 hours, 10 hours. And that can include half of the hours of studying and the other half sending messages, trying to get those appointments, talking to people. That helped me in the beginning a lot, is controlling myself, because there's so many distractions, right? And this is not a mandatory. So you can put it off, and you can put it off for a week, a year, whatever, right? So that would be a one thing, and the other one is have some kind of planning device, right? I work everything off my calendar on the phone. Like, even my wife knows, and the kids know now, whatever we want, that we put it in there and we share that. So I can tell them, hey, from this time I'm gonna be working doing the office or at the office or an appointment. Even my haircut, everything's in there, because I will forget something. So some form of planning device, and then in that same device, you're going to have some goal setting, right? By the end of the month, I need to do a certain amount of things. Pass my test, study, whatever you give yourself, right? Because no one in this business tells you what to do. Right? It's just, hey, let's talk. What are we gonna do this month? Okay, this month we're gonna do X, Y, Z. Okay, let's have some accountability on that. Those are a couple of things that would help. But I think marketing is not that hard, right? But then just having the time to do those appointments, whatever day you choose, right? I think I have, what I'll tell you guys, Friday afternoon, Friday 7, I can't help anyone, right? After, I just had one of our reps is like, hey, can I give you a call right now? I'm like, no, we can call at 9, right? Or at 10. He's like, great. But I have that there, and then I have the church hours, right? That I can't. I was like, hey, these hours is set. And it's really like Saturday from 4 to 7, right? In between there. Right, but after that, Sunday, all day, if I need to. Thursday night, Friday. Friday all day, whatever. Right, I can have. I just have it's basically 2 hours for training, and then another 3 or 4 hours for church. Right, but I know that. So when someone says, "Henry, can we meet?" We can't. If it's those hours, I can't. But can we? Most people have other times, right? Any other questions? Okay. So again, we're going to have one of these next at the end of June. All right. Most people will be past the graduation phase, past the stuff, and we can get some more people in here. But if you're not doing individual appointments, this is another option you can use. And say, hey, I'm going to bring 3 or 4 or 5 people. And they can see everything at once versus, doing one appointment this week, one appointment the next week, one appointment the next week. All right? Awesome.